Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I have something a little bit different for you. I am really interested in these kind of things, and I know that they're quite in at the moment, so I thought I would maybe bring one to you and see how you thought about it. So today I will be doing a video on the abduction of Jaycee Dugard. So this was a really massive thing in America when this all happened. It was literally covered on every news outlet. She was probably one of the most famous missing people around that time, and still for the length of time that it prolonged. It is a solved case now, so we do have the sort of the end result of it and the afterwards and so what came after it. So it should hopefully be a really good video if that's the type of thing you're interested in. Now obviously I do want to just disclaim that everything in this video is something that I've researched. I've really dug deep into all the information. I've kind of tried to source from lots of different areas so that it's the most correct that it can be. Anything that is slightly incorrect, if there's any sort of issues that you guys have with anything I've said, please let me know. Again, I don't mean anything to harm anyone. It is literally just things that I can find on the internet, things I've watched, things I've seen, and yeah, that's it. Jaycee Dugard was born on May 3rd, 1980, and in 1990 her mother Terry moved her and her family from Orange County, California to South Lake Tahoe because this was known as a really safe area and they thought it would be a lot better to bring up children here. So Jaycee Dugard stayed here with her mother Terry, her stepfather Carol, and her younger half-sister Shayna. On June 10th, 1991, her mother left early in the morning for work, just as usual, and at 8:15 Jaycee was last seen walking up the hill to get the bus to school. She was wearing her favourite outfit, which was an all pink outfit, as that was her favourite colour, and she saw a car approaching her and assumed that they were going to ask for directions. When the man pulled up beside her, he rolled down the window and instead stunned her with a stun gun, and she fell unconscious. Once this happened, she was then pulled into the car. Her stepfather Carol actually watched this all happen from the window in his house. He had seen the car pull up beside her, the young girl fall unconscious, and then someone pull her into the car, well, a woman as well, helping drag her into this car. And he actually got on his bike and tried to chase the car up the hill. Unfortunately, the car being the car, it was quicker and it got away. He then came back down and phoned the police. He then came back down and shouted to his neighbour, phone 911. So that happened as soon as he could. Carol told the police that he saw a mid-sized grey car and thought it could have been a Mercury Monarch. He also did note that it was two people and that it was a woman that he saw get out the car and drag Jaycee into the backseat. This man and woman were Philip Garrido and Nancy Garrido, aka two of the scummiest people in the world. Hours after Jaycee disappeared, all the media channels converged at South Lake Tahoe to cover this event. Descriptions of both the car and the woman that Carol saw get out of the car were plastered absolutely everywhere, and Jaycee's face was on every storefront, every news front. There were posters of her here, there and everywhere. Everyone knew what was going on and who they were looking for. Her mother and Carol basically made it their life mission to try and get her back. There were insane amounts of volunteers. Even Terry's friends were quitting their jobs just to look for this young girl. It was really a massive story. She even founded the group Jaycee's Hope in order to direct all the search efforts. Around the same time, a song was actually made for Jaycee Lee, and it was called Jaycee Lee, and this was sold along with t-shirts and posters, etc. To fund all the money for printing expenses, search efforts, search groups, getting here and there, having able to look here. There was so much money put into it, a lot more money was put into the efforts to find her than they ever got back. So revert back to when she was abducted. It was the woman Nancy that helped pull her into the car, and the only time that she spoke was to cry and say, "My family can't afford a ransom." They then drove the 3 and a bit hours journey from South Lake Tahoe to Contra Costa County, I think it is, which is where Garrido's house was. And the whole time Nancy was helping hold Jaycee Lee down while she drifted in and out of consciousness. By the time that they got to the house, all her clothes had been removed, and the only thing she was left with was a small butterfly ring that she actually hid from them for the next 18 years. She then had a blanket placed on her head and was transported from the car to the shed in the back of the house, which was soundproofed, and was raped for the first of many times. She was then left there naked in the shed. Garrido bolted the door and warned her that if she tried to escape, there was Doberman outside that were ready to attack her. That week she was held in handcuffs, both raped and left there in the handcuffs, and her only human interaction was with him himself. He would come and bribe her with like milkshakes and McDonald's and stuff, and he would just tell her stupid stories before obviously continuing to rape and assault this 11-year-old girl. One time he actually did in fact bring her a television, but he had to watch over and make sure that she didn't flick to any news stations because he didn't want her to see that her family were looking for her and that the media was covering it so widely. Basically, this little 11-year-old had no idea that her mum and dad were looking for her so much, and she just would have felt really, really alone. After about a month and a half, Jaycee was moved from this small shed to a much larger room next door to it, which she was handcuffed to the bed. While she was in captivity, Garrido would tell her that she was actually stopping him from hurting other girls and was really helping with his sexual desires and stuff. Made her feel like because of what was happening to her, he wasn't actually doing anything to other people, so you're doing him a favour and you're doing the world a favour. So yeah, he would go on these like crazy drug binges that he referred to as runs, in which he would dress her up as all these weird outfits and stuff, and would like play out scenarios and would have her and him cut out pornographic images from porn magazines together. And sometimes afterwards he would cry hysterically and sob at her, tell her how sorry he was, but then in turn would also like threaten her with like, oh well, I'm doing this because if I don't, I'm going to be selling you to these people that will keep you in cages. So it was a lot of mental abuse and anguish that this wee girl went through at such a young age. It's also worth mentioning that she never ever seen a dentist or a doctor. In her books, Jaycee talks a lot about how the fact that her mother really helped her through this, the hope of seeing her again, was really, really something that played a big part in her lasting so long. She was like, lasting so long. She also stated that looking at the moon was a real comfort for her because her and her mum used to talk about the moon an awful lot, and that she felt when she was looking up at the moon, she knew that her mum would be looking at the same one, and that brought her a lot of comfort. What was really strange about that though is that her mum had stated on many, many occasions the exact same thing, that she felt when she looked at the moon, she knew Jaycee would be looking at it too, because she just had this feeling inside her that she wasn't dead. It's a really strange thing, but they do say that mums have connections with their daughters, and this was just like a really strong example of that. Nancy and Philip Garrido actually gave Jaycee Lee a journal that she was able to write in, so a lot of the experience she had was recorded throughout the years. They also had presented her with a gift of a kitten on 2 different occasions, but on both occasions, just as Jaycee was getting really close to these cats, they would mysteriously vanish. And it's like a sick, twisted game. She felt that they were giving her something that brought her a lot of comfort, made her feel like she wasn't alone, and then they would kill the cat so that was it. You've just pulled this something that she loved right away from her all over again. So they were really, really shitty people, like just all over, just not nice folk. Jaycee says that at first she really, really looked for Nancy's approval, but then after a while kind of realised that she was like such a manipulator. Actually, in retrospect, would explain her as like evil and twisted, and said that she was very, very jealous, which kind of makes sense because this man is clearly not happy with just you, so he's having to find sort of output elsewhere. So she just seems a bit like she's just as bad as him, in my opinion. Jaycee explained that after some time she did learn to cope an awful lot better with it. She cried an awful lot less, and she basically came to terms with the fact that this is how her life was going to be right now. She learned that this was just how her life was going to be for the foreseeable future, and it's all she kind of knew at this point. So she said that it got a wee bit easier to just accept it. April 1994, which was 2 years after her abduction, Philip and Nancy sat down with her and were having dinner together when they told Jaycee that she was possibly pregnant. Now at this point, Jaycee Lee had no correlation between sex and pregnancy and having a baby. She didn't really understand it, and anything she did kind of know came from television. They didn't speak much with her about it. She was also already 4.5 months pregnant, which must have been scary enough. She gave birth to her first daughter on August 18th, 1994. Her second was born November 13th, 1997. Many believe that Jaycee actually suffered from symptoms of Stockholm Syndrome because she was allowed out into the outside world eventually and never really spoke to anyone about the fact that she was kidnapped, or never mentioned the fact that she's not where she should be. When Garrido opened his print shop, she actually worked there as a graphic artist and was praised by a lot of people for her work. But again, never ever mentioned to anyone the fact that she was Jaycee, or, I mean, she had access to phone, to emails, one-on-one conversations, and she never ever spoke about the fact that she was abducted. On August 24th, 2009, 18 years after abducting Jaycee Lee Dugard, Garrido went to the San Francisco office of Federal Bureau Investigations and left a 4-page essay regarding religion and sexuality. And it was basically his thoughts, and he thought he'd found a solution for all his past problematic crimes, and aka just his rape, sexual assault and any other sexually driven crimes that he'd committed. He also thought this new information could aid in the assistance of curing other possible sexual predators / offenders. On this very same day, he actually attended University of California's Berkeley Police Office and asked to speak about arranging this special event for his God's Desires program that he'd started up. And he took his and Jaycee Lee's 2 daughters with him. When he was there, he spoke to the events manager, and she found his behaviour so strange and so weird, and she said that the 2 young girls looked ill. She said that they looked so pale, and they basically were just sat there, looked very submissive. Because of this, she felt kind of uncomfortable, and so asked him to make an appointment for the next day. So this allowed her to take his name from the log, and she sent it to an officer, and this officer was Ali Jacobs, who then done a background search which found out that he was in fact a registered sex offender, and he was also on federal parole for kidnapping and rape. The next day, when he returned for his appointment at 2 p.m, Jacobs actually sat in on it. She found that there was too many dodgy things about it for her to not, and she stated that the 2 girls looked very, very pale, almost as if they had never been exposed to sunlight, which they basically hadn't. Officer Jacobs then phoned the parole office, as she found there was enough violations here that were met to basically put out an arrest. Soon enough, 2 parole agents actually went to Garrido's house that same day and arrested him. They also done a search of the house and only found Nancy and his elderly mother. Later on that day, he was sent home and told to come back tomorrow. The next day, Philip, Nancy, the 2 young girls and Jaycee Lee attended the parole office. Jaycee actually referred to herself as Alyssa, I think it was, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So because the officers found this a very suspicious sort of situation, they wanted to remove the girls from Philip. So they done so, and when questioning Jaycee Lee, who kept up her false identity of Alyssa, she basically just said, yes, these are my children. I know of his past crimes, but he's a good man, he's a changed man, he's really good with my daughters. So it really did look as if she was suffering from Stockholm Syndrome at this point, although she will still say, I absolutely was not. I was simply doing what I had to do to survive the worst. This all came to a kind of head when the police sergeant actually arrived and Philip Garrido confessed to kidnapping and raping Jaycee Lee Dugard, and this in turn is what made Jaycee Lee come forward and say, "I am Jaycee Lee." She confirmed it. When Garrido was asked about his sort of version of events through a phone call interview from jail, he just stated, "In the end, this is going to be a powerful, heartwarming story because my life has been straightened out. Wait till you hear the story of what took place at this house. You're going to be absolutely impressed. It's a disgusting thing that took place with me at the beginning, but I turned my life completely around." So Garrido also said that the birth of his daughters really changed an awful lot of things for him. He said that he never ever assaulted them in any kind of way. He also said that they slept in his arms every single night and that he never touched them in any sexual way at all. It's also confirmed that the two young girls cried when their father was arrested, which is so strange to think of, considering we know everything that he'd done. Were they just kept from that? Were they just told a different story? It's really hard to kind of comprehend. On August 28th, 2009, Nancy and Philip Garrido pleaded not guilty to charges including kidnapping, rape and false imprisonment. On Thursday, April 7th, 2011, they both once again pleaded not guilty to charges of kidnapping and raping Jaycee Lee. But then on April 28th, they pleaded guilty to kidnapping and rape by force. Philip was sentenced to 431 years of life in prison and Nancy received a 36 years to life sentence. So basically now that it's kind of been resolved and we know what happened, etc, etc, I just want to talk about the kind of flukes that the police made in this whole thing. And there's always, with missing people cases, there's always things that police could have done better. They could have followed up on more. They missed their chance. Like, there's always so many cases. The police do a great job of so many things, but they also sometimes do some shitty stuff that just could have led to better things. So the police failed to connect the fact that Jaycee Lee Dugard was kidnapped in South Lake Tahoe, which was the same place that Garrido had also kidnapped and raped Catherine Calloway Hall in 1976. So this is something that police surely would check out. This one is also really interesting and a little bit kind of, I don't know, eerie for me. Less than a year after her kidnapping, so she would have probably still been 11 or 12, only have been there for something like 9 months. On April 22nd, 1992, a man actually phoned the Contra Costa County Sheriff Police Department and stated that he saw Jaycee Lee Dugard with a man in the gas station staring like totally flabbergasted by her own missing persons poster, which is quite scary. And this was less than 2 miles away from Garrido's home. He then said that he saw the same girl leave with a man in a yellow Dodge van. Now this is where it's weird. In 2009, when Jaycee Lee was found, well, reappeared, they actually discovered a yellow Dodge van of the exact same description in Garrido's garden. Like, it was pulled up, it was rediscovered, this same van. The caller never ever identified himself, and obviously by the time that the police got to the station, the caller, the girl, the man and the van were all gone. To kind of contradict this, Jaycee Lee herself actually said that she never ever, from the moment that she was abducted to shortly after, I think shortly after she had her first child, she never ever left his house. So that kind of maybe says that it wasn't her. This same van and same call was never ever looked into further. So even if, imagine it was like the same van and they would have looked at it a wee bit more, she could have been found like, what, 17, 16, 15 years earlier. It's just really, really sad. In 2006, one of Garrido's neighbours actually made a 911 call about Garrido holding children in his tent in his back garden and said that he has psychotic sexual addictions. Then the county sheriff actually turned up to Garrido's door and had a very brief conversation with him about this sort of claim. where he only said to Garrido, if someone is staying outside of your property, that will be a violation. Really? That's as far as you want to go? You don't want to check the back garden for the kids? When Jaycee Lee was found, this same sheriff then actually made an apology to the victims that were left when he didn't check the back garden. So in 2009, Garrido was also visited by a parole officer who did come across a 12-year-old girl. But he later left after Garrido told him it was his brother's daughter that he was looking after for a wee while. The fact that nothing was done about this, even though a phone call was made to his brother and his brother verified that he does not have any children, the fact that nothing was done about that is mental to me. He was a convicted sex offender and child rapist. He definitely shouldn't have had some random little 12-year-old girl in his house, and the fact that this parole officer just didn't click with that is something that just really grates on me. To kind of round this all off, I just want to kind of put that Jaycee and her daughters are getting on with life now. They're kind of adapting to this new way of life than staying in the shed all this time. And I just wonder how life must have become so normal for them that she never would have spoken to anyone about it afterwards once she was allowed to talk to people. It's all just a wee bit mad. But she did in fact ask for the pets that grew up in the house with her in Garrido's house back, and they now live with them. Her two daughters are getting on in life. She is sort of getting back together with her stepfather. It's also worth noting that her real dad, Ken Slayton, didn't even know he'd fathered a child, and he did want to kind of meet up with her and get to know her, and she just was not interested at that time. So yeah, her and her mum were doing pet therapy for a while there, going on horse rides together. So I think well, she's probably not going to be the same person she could have been. She's definitely a damn strong lady, and our two daughters are going to have a much better life now that this thing is in prison. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you are remotely interested in seeing another one like this, please let me know. If you have any sort of ideas of who I can speak about or what you want me to research, I would definitely be up for that. Like I said, I'm really interested in all of these things. There's a few ones I've kind of got lined up and I've already started working on. So yeah, thanks for watching, and please subscribe down below if you haven't already. Make sure to like the video, turn on your notifications, and follow me on all of my social medias, which I will try and put here. So yeah, I hope you really enjoyed that, and bye.